Coming up on Retiring Well.
How can you protect yourself against some of these crazy increasing healthcare rates that we're seeing throughout the country and we expect to see over the years ahead? As I understand it, over time, that income and thus the doubling factor of the long-term care benefit, that can grow to be a pretty sizable number, can it not?
Yep, sure can.
It seems to be flexible, you know, where many times there's cash value, right, in these policies. Not always, but sometimes. The death benefit, you can use a portion of that to pay long-term care, you're qualifying for that.
Retiring Well, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well, where we believe your best is yet to come.
Welcome to Retiring Well. I'm your host, Michael Reese. We've got a great show lined up for you this week. We are going to talk about one of the topics you tell us is big in your minds, and that's healthcare. You know, where's it going? How can you protect yourself against some of these crazy increasing healthcare rates that we're seeing throughout the country and we expect to see over the years ahead? Now, by the way, I have a copy, of course, of our best-selling book, #1 in its category on Amazon, called Retiring Well, How to Enjoy Retirement in Any Economy. In fact, right here in this book, I've got it open right here, page 151. It says how insurance companies can help you transfer risk. Hey, let's be honest, when we're talking about healthcare, a lot of times insurance comes into play. How do you use insurance companies in an intelligent way, in a smart way? Now, I don't know about you, but you know, I personally, whenever I hear insurance companies, I'm not always the biggest fan. I think about my car insurance. I sit there and I pay these guys every month or every year. And do I really ever use them? You know, I don't. Maybe you have, but it's a necessary evil, right? And the smart thing is you just don't want to waste a lot of money there. You want to make smart choices when it comes to insurance, and you know, healthcare is no different. You know, as we get older and we look into retirement, you think about the catastrophic potential costs later on of, you know, things like long-term care. And you know, whenever I hear long-term care now, I'm really cringing, you know, I'm like, oh. But think about it. Do you know that most long-term care is actually provided at the home? It's kind of like my in-laws, you know, great people, and they're getting older. They're in their 80s, and you know, they're helping kind of take care. Like my father-in-law particularly helps take care of my mother-in-law. She's not doing really great from a health perspective, and he takes care of her right there in the home. Sometimes they have people come in to help out. Hey, that's not free. It costs money. How do you make smart choices with your insurance to pay for that stuff? Well, really, like we talk about right here in the book, three ways you can use insurance companies to transfer some risk. We'll talk about them today. I mean, you can go out and get long-term care insurance. Got to tell you, not everybody's super happy about that or excited about that these days. You can use annuities. Some annuities have long-term care benefits to them, or life insurance is an option out there these days. In other words, there's a lot of things you can do. The question is, how do you do it intelligently? How do you be smart about it so you're not wasting money, but so you're making smart choices? That's what we're going to talk about today. So I don't want you going anywhere. We'll be right back.
NMC Extended Education is introducing an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Your Best is Yet to Come. Our very own Larry Flynn will be the presenter. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The three big things being healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for a predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on 2 Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. for 3 hours. October 10th and 17th at the NMC Great Lake campus. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700. The class is called Retirement Secrets. Again, that number is 231-995-1700.
Welcome back. I've got, as you can see, Larry Flynn with me. He's one of the lead advisors at Centennial Wealth Advisory, offices in Northern Michigan. And Larry, we've been talking about our best-selling book, and this week we're talking about insurance companies and how they transfer risk to help out with health care. Right. And as you know, 3 ways they do it. Yep. You know, you can get long-term care insurance, you can use annuities with income riders, you can use life insurance. Sure. Why don't we start with the first one? Sure. Long-term care insurance. Yep. I know whenever we say long-term care insurance, everybody gets excited. Sure. Right? They get real thrilled. What's been your experience there? Are a lot of companies still doing that? Tell me a little bit about that space.
Well, it's a challenge today. A lot of insurance companies have actually gotten out of that space, primarily because they have to keep so much in reserves, and reserves haven't been paying a whole lot, you know, of recent years. So so they find that people are living longer, which is causing a challenge for them, and then they can't make any money on their reserve accounts. So many have chose to just kind of get out of that space. But there are a number of very well-known, you know, large insurance companies that are still there.
They're still doing it. So a lot have gotten out of the business. Yeah. It sounds to me like you gave a nice fancy answer to they're losing money, so they got out. That's right. That's what I heard you say. Now, question though, do you find that that traditional long-term care insurance, do you find that makes a lot of sense for people today, or are some of the other alternatives tend to be more attractive?
Sure. Well, like anything, when the risk is less, they're very cost effective. You know, if I'm 50 years old, you know, the insurance company's not expecting me to need that care for, you know, 20, 25, 30 years, right? So my premiums can be very cost effective. But as I get older and that risk becomes, you know, a more real thing, those premiums are going to be a little bit more costly. So one of the disadvantages to those kind of plans is that as I get older, I might find that those premiums can rise on me.
Yeah, is that happening, by the way? Are you getting clients where they call you and say, Larry, my long-term care insurance policy, maybe you didn't do this, you didn't put them there, but they bought this long-term care, and they're calling you and say, Larry, I've got my premium notice, and they increased my premiums substantially. Does that happen?
It absolutely happens, yeah.
And then you have to do what? What happens what are the options?
Well, one of the things I'm going to talk with them about is we have to look at what is that premium increase. Is it still worth them maintaining? You know, how real is the risk versus, you know, how much do they want to take care of that risk? No different than if I want to make sure that my house is insured because of fire. Right?
Got it. It's the same thing.
Same thing, right.
Okay, so traditional long-term care sounds like if you're younger, it still may make some sense. Older, not so much, right? So it depends. Right, depends. So next thing we have, annuities that have long-term care riders. Sure. What's going on there?
Well, you know, a lot of these annuities will give you what's called, and mind you, when you're working with an annuity, you're dealing with an insurance company, right? Okay. And this annuity will give you a guaranteed income for the rest of your life. Okay, so somehow by formula, depending on what you put into the financial instrument, they've determined based on your age, this is what we're going to give you for a lifetime payout.
Okay. Right, and every time you talk about annuities and guarantees, it's of course, remember folks, based upon claims paying ability of the insurance company, right? So you're saying that they're telling you, here, you put money in this account, we will pay out some income for your lifetime.
Right.
Right. And then how does long-term care work with all of that?
So let's say they've determined, and I'm just use round numbers, but let's say they've determined we're going to give you $12,000 a year for the rest of your life.
Okay, $1,000 a month.
Yeah. And now all of a sudden you're entering into long-term care. Okay, and now you need more income to pay for that care. The insurance companies, a lot of these companies, they vary depending on the insurance company, might say, all right, that $12,000 a year you're getting, or $1,000 per month, we're going to double that for a period of time.
Okay, so instead of getting $1,000 a month, you get a couple thousand a month for some period of time.
There you go.
Got it. Now, as I understand it too, with some of those programs, if you put money in one of these accounts and you don't take the income right away, you just kind of let the income grow. As I understand it, over time, that income and thus the doubling factor of the long-term care benefit, that can grow to be a pretty sizable number, can it not?
Yep, sure can. Yeah.
So what we find is that if you need the income right away, that long-term care benefit might be a supplement.
Sure.
But if you don't need the income, if it's money you can set aside to grow, that may become a significant factor.
That's right.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
Larry, fantastic information. Thank you so much for that. Folks, I thought it was great. Don't go anywhere. Coming up, we're also going to talk about the long-term care option with life insurance. We'll be right back. Any kind of relationship requires someone to first reach out to open the door. So for someone who's retired, they're thinking, okay, how do I transition my portfolio into a portfolio that is stable, yet can generate a sustainable and predictable stream of income for as long as I live?
As people get close to retirement, they're nervous about what they're going to do, how they're going to provide for themselves. They've had that regular paycheck their whole lives.
One of the things that I really enjoy and it's rewarding to be able to recommend to somebody or set them up with an initial appointment, knowing that they're going to walk into an environment that is comfortable and relaxed.
Nothing is worse than clients getting hit with surprises. If there's any threat to their retirement assets because of taxes, then we want them to be fully aware. Take a married couple, for example, and one of the spouses passes away. Not only does the surviving spouse have a loss of income, maybe due to a loss in the Social Security benefits or a pension, but now they find themselves in the single tax brackets. Their standard deduction is half, they lose a personal exemption, and now some of their Social Security is actually being taxed more.
A lot of people are scared or intimidated to retire, and so part of our responsibility is to eliminate the fear that they have leading up to and throughout retirement. It's our responsibility to help make sure that the surviving spouse is well taken care of, and we take that responsibility very seriously.
I can't tell you how many times we've had clients tell us they have never had anyone look at the taxes the way we do. Clients love it, and it is a very necessary part of their entire retirement plan.
The real gratifying thing is that, we were able to sit down, we were able to help her work through that in a way that made sense to her. And the most gratifying thing at the end was just her, giving us a big hug, tears flowing, with just a big thank you. Thank you for helping me make sense out of this. You have the surviving spouse. She's in a world that she doesn't understand. She's totally lost. And we're able to step in and help make her life a bit easier. And that's the thank you that really provides meaning to what we do.
Hi, thanks for joining us this segment of Chalk Talks. Today, Mike and I have been talking about long-term care and how to maybe transfer that risk from yourself to insurance companies potentially, okay? But I just want to expound on this just a tad bit, because one thing we didn't talk about is one other option is just self-insuring. Right? Just to look at the threat it is to your estate. I know here in Michigan, you're looking at just a little over $100,000 per year if you want to pay for long-term care at a facility and maybe a private room or something. So if that's $100,000 per year, and I can tell you that the average stay for long-term care is typically about 3 years, then what is the threat to your estate? Well, that would probably be about $300,000 per year, $300,000. That's the threat to your estate. That's the money that would have to be there to potentially pay for that kind of care if only one of you ended up in long-term care. Obviously, if two of you ended up in long-term care, we're going to look at that being twice that number. So if you're somebody with sufficient assets, okay, maybe you're somebody that can self-insure. If I'm somebody if that's the threat to my estate, maybe one of us ending up in long-term care, $300,000 threat, and I'm sitting on $1 million of assets, am I as concerned about transferring that risk? Potentially not. I might just self-insure and take care of it myself. But if I'm somebody that is concerned about that and I want to transfer that risk over to somebody else, then what are some ways I might do that with an insurance company? Well, one is purchase long-term care insurance directly, right? I purchase it, it's just like car insurance, it's just like house insurance. If the event should happen that I end up in long-term care, then the insurance company is promising to pay out a benefit for you over that period of time. Now, long-term care insurance, like house insurance, like car insurance, is a use it or lose it deal. You can be paying premiums for several years, and if I should never end up in long-term care, I paid those premiums for naught. So that's a potential downside to long-term care premiums. We also talked in the segment that as I get older and that risk increases, because the likelihood of me entering into long-term care is greater, the insurance company in some cases is going to want to potentially charge me more. So that's also a disadvantage. Another way to transfer that risk over to the insurance company is do it through the form of an annuity. Right? This is an insurance company promising to make a guaranteed payout for your lifetime, with this stipulation that should you end up in long-term care, they will double that income payment over a period of usually a certain number of years, maybe 5 or 10 years, depending on the insurance company. So there's another way to transfer that risk. Another way to transfer risk to an insurance company is through the use of life insurance. There is a lot of life insurance out there today, or a lot of life insurance companies, I should say, that have policies now that if there's a death benefit, okay, in the event that you should die, we promise to pay to your beneficiaries a lump sum, all right? But should you end up in long-term care, we will let you use that death benefit for that care. Now, insurance companies are different as far as how much they'll let you use. We've seen some companies go as high as, almost 100%. They might make you, take it out over maybe a 4-year period, but they'll let you use almost 100% of the death benefit for that care. Other insurance companies say, we'll let you use 50% of the death benefit for that care. But for whatever reason, it's there if you need it. So you might be somebody who's legacy minded. I might have life insurance there for a number of different reasons, to be there for my spouse when I die, or maybe I'm leaving it for a legacy to the kids. But maybe I have that there, but should I have, in the event that I end up in long-term care, I've also got that benefit available to pay for my long-term care. That might be advantageous. A lot of people are sitting on old insurance policies, and they don't recognize that sometimes by having those looked at, renewing them, they might find that they might be able to get into some new insurance that has those benefits associated with it. Now, there's another way to transfer risk. That's to transfer it to the government. If you have Medicare, then guess what? They're going to pay, I think it's the first 90 days of your care, should you end up in that situation. But after that, they're going to transfer that risk either to yourself, or they're going to want to, hopefully you got some kind of long-term care insurance or such to pay for it. But Medicare's there for the first so many days, but after that, where are you going to go? Well, the only other place you can transfer it when it transfers to government is Medicaid. Now, the only disadvantage with Medicaid is they want you to spend down your assets before they pay for it, okay? And there's a lot of rules associated with that and how you can spend it down. Typically, if you end up in that kind of a situation where you're looking at possibly that and you want to transfer risk to the government, you're going to want to get with an elder law attorney, somebody that deals with nothing but that. All right, we appreciate you joining us in this segment. I'm going to tell you that this is a very real liability for most people going on because people are living longer. It's something that you want to talk about in your own planning. There's a lot of different ways to transfer risk, as you can see, but this is why you so much want to talk to an advisor to look at all your options. Thank you.
NMC Extended Education is introducing an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Your Best Is Yet to Come. Our very own Larry Flynn will be the presenter. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The three big things being healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for a predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on 2 Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. for 3 hours, October 10th and 17th at the NMC Great Lakes campus. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700. The class is called Retirement Secrets. Again, that number is 231-995-1700.
Hi, it's Michael Reese here. I have in my hands a copy of our #1 best-selling book on Amazon in its category, Retiring Well, How to Enjoy Retirement in Any Economy. In this book, we cover the 4 big areas of retirement planning: income planning, investment planning, tax planning, and estate planning or legacy planning. It has everything you need to know about your retirement plan, and I want to get you a free copy. So how do you get a free copy? It's really easy. Just call the number on the screen. Come visit with us. Come on in for a free, no obligation financial planning review. And when you come in to get your planning reviewed, we'll give you a copy, your very own copy of this best-selling book, absolutely for free. Again, just call the number on the screen. I want you to get your free copy. I know that you're going to love it.
Thanks for coming back with us this week on Retiring Well. I'm here with John Torbett, Financial Advisor, Senior Partner at Centennial Wealth. My name is Art Canfield, and we're going to be talking today, continuing Larry and Mike's conversations about insurance companies and transferring risk to them. And an interesting thing that crossed my mind, John, is just when you think of transferring risk, you know, why do we or most people have house insurance, car insurance, health insurance? You know, that's a very basic insurance that most people are comfortable with. Well, it's a transfer risk, right? If your house burns down, you don't want to be on the hook for the replacement cost, right?
Exactly, because that can cost what? Tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars for a lot of this damage out there. So you want to have different insurance in place, and that's where it comes to, when it comes to as you're getting older, there's different long-term care scenarios that come up, and you start thinking about, okay, what are we going to do if that happens? And one basic plan is not to plan, or basically self-insuring, saying, okay, I'm going to rely on these assets that I've saved over the years, and if something comes up, we'll just spend those assets down. And that may be the solution for some.
Yeah, and I think some people, that self-insuring is definitely a model. The other folks, I think that's their plan because they don't want to talk about it, right? It's one of those things that they don't talk about it won't come. But the other one, some people I think are familiar with and maybe good or bad experiences with, but like what we call traditional long-term care, right? Where it's a pay-in sort of thing, whether it's monthly premiums, annual premiums. It's a premium usually sets out a certain amount, and then we see those typically increase as you age when you're probably going to need it, and then it's not to be morbid here, but it's a use it or lose it, right? Basically, if you pass away in your sleep and you don't go into the nursing home, you don't need it, right?
Sort of like that car insurance, house insurance that you talked about. You pay into this all these years and you hope to never need it. I mean, but it's an expense. And so, I mean, there's that traditional type of long-term care. Now the insurance companies, they'll have different types of annuities out there where they say, okay, if you need long-term care, we're going to pay out a higher income stream to help pay for that. It may not be the end-all solution, but it may be something to help supplement and cover some of those costs that you've got with long-term care.
Right, yeah, at least can it be in there as an assistance at some level. And the little bit of a difference between that model versus traditional is it can be used for other things, right? It's not just to use it or lose it.
Right, but one of the ones that I see coming up more and more often with our clients that we're talking to is more of a life insurance concept where at least with that, I look at it from worst case scenario. If you're paying in some premiums into some type of life insurance, at least you know that death benefit is going to be paid out to loved ones. So you want to make sure, obviously, that that's a plan that's structured properly, but it'll have some type of death benefit where if you go into long-term care, you can start drawing from that death benefit early to pay for long-term care benefits.
Yeah, let's spend a little more time talking about that one because I think that's a relatively newer one, right? That's not been around as long as some of these other ones, and two, it seems to be flexible. Where many times there's cash value, right? In these policies, not always, but sometimes. The death benefit, you can use a portion of that to pay long-term care, you're qualifying for that, or going back to my example, pass away in your sleep, it's in life insurance, right? It gets paid and the nice thing about life insurance, tax-free, right?
Tax-free. So we always talk about taxes on the show, and that's a big piece of it, whether it's for the death benefit or for those long-term care, like accelerated benefits that are out there. The thing that I've been coming across a lot lately is some folks that have maybe set up those old whole life policies maybe when they were 30, 35 years old and they had this cash value that's maybe grown, and that's fantastic, but they took out a policy back 30 years ago, let's say, and the insurance company now, the cost of insurance is going up significantly because they don't know their current health status. So if they're in good health, there might be options to look at other life insurance and potentially replacing an old policy with an updated new one that has these benefits.
Yeah, great. And folks, if this is something that's of interest to you and you don't have a long-term plan yet, come in and talk to us. Come in and sit down. There's some great information on that in Mike's newest book here, Retiring Well. And after you come in and sit down with us, you can enjoy your free copy with us. Thanks so much for tuning in this week. We look forward to seeing you next week.